And I'll tell you guys since we're all friends. Every character I write has a piece of me in them. Hi, I'm Lee Bardugo. You're listening to the GrishaCast.
Welcome to GrishaCast, episode 106. In this episode, we will begin breaking down the stories from the book The Lives of Saints. This is your host, Eric.
And I'm Terry from Nashville, Tennessee. This is your podcast for all things Grishaverse.
A world created by the mother of all Volcra, Lee Bardugo. Moi saviani casters.
Hi.
Hi. So, we've got some listener cities.
We do. First, we have Kievershaw, France.
Ooh,
Yes.
thanks. And now we're moving on to my homeland, Tel Aviv, Israel. Thank you, listeners.
Oh, yay.
I wonder if any of those are friends that I actually do know. They could be, possibly.
They could be your relatives.
They could be, but most of my relatives probably are still, But it'd be cool if
Distantly related.
because my relatives remain mostly in the South. Yeah, they're in Charleston and Mississippi, mostly where you really can't find a lot of Jews, to be honest.
Aw.
But it's okay. We're around. We're here. See? Hi.
Hi.
I'm one. Shouting out for my voice of all Jewish people. So,
Just you.
Just me. So we are on the precipice of possibly some snow. Do you like that word there?
Yes. Precipice, precipitation.
Precipice. Ooh, see, you got me there.
Say it 10 times fast.
Nope.
Yeah, it's kind of sleeting right now, and it's cold and it's windy.
Yes, and I'm very excited because I hope it's our last snow before spring, because those of you that know me, I love winter. I love sleeping. I love everything about it. I pretty much could hibernate. So I'm excited. I'm not excited about the time change that happens on Sunday. You will not want to be near me Monday morning. Just a heads up.
Well, just go to bed an hour early.
Yep, that don't work. I still, it's hard. Actually, next week when we record our podcast, you will hear me. I will probably still be like, ugh. I'll be like, well, It's okay. But hey, something exciting for you YouTube viewers. We have something new in the background.
Oh, it's fancy.
Yeah, so Terry looks like she's chilling up in some Ketterdam.
Yep.
And guess what? I moved on into the fold. Here I am. Look at my new digs.
Yay!
I am the mother of all Volcra.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I dressed up as one.
It would be kind of cool if you could control them.
Yeah. Like the Darkling. Well, he doesn't really
control them, no.
No, he controls his Nietzsche
But if you could control them like Dany in Game of Thrones with her dragons, and you had them attack people that you did not like.
Cities, places, lots of things.
Go attack certain people in the world.
That would be amazing. I love that. So
that's a little evil for us, but that's okay.
Girl, of course. Look at us. We evil.
Evil with my unicorn.
So another thing for you YouTube viewers and our listeners need to go check out. Terry has a set of adorable headphones on.
They're pastel pink.
Yeah, and don't worry. I saw them and I will be having some.
We will be matching.
Of my own. They will be, yes. And she turned the light on, the ears lit up, and I lost it.
I don't know if you could see the light up on the camera or not.
No, it's like me trying to show my glasses last week.
Maybe if they blinked, maybe that would be. See, you can kind of see it. Yeah, you can see it if they blink.
Well.
But it's kind of silly to have a blinking unicorn.
I think it's cute. So I don't think any apology needs to be happening. So besides snow, besides our time change happening, what has been going on with you?
Not a whole lot, actually, this week.
Good.
Well, I mean, I was in like a conference training thing all week, so really nerdy things that probably wouldn't interest anyone else.
Well, girl, we are covering a book series. I'm proud of being like a nerd, all that. Yes, love it.
I manage the catalog for our entire college, and we have to do like a yearly training. So I got to talk about catalog software
Ooh.
for a whole week, and I actually really enjoyed nerding out over it. And I had to take the test today, and I passed it with a 98. So very
Congratulations.
excited, and I'm kind of sad that it's done.
Oh. Well, at least you did good, and I'm
Yes.
proud of you. And
Thanks.
it's fun to have those moments, where you get to geek
It
out over a
is.
passion, and I get it
It is.
completely. So, I had something really exciting. I did my first official reading for someone that actually I know I've done readings for Lenormand and I've done, but this was an actual one where it was the grand tableau, so it was all 36 cards, and I did it for someone that I really was I knew them but didn't know them so well,
Mhm.
and it was a real actual reading, and I was so nervous. It took me about close to maybe 4 weeks to put all the information together, because one, it's all the cards and there's a lot of information there. And two, I was kind of trying to learn, and I was so nervous because I don't know this person at all. So I was I did the reading after I was done putting it together. We did it over Skype, kind of, and Zoom, I think is what, whatever. Anyway, so she could see the cards and I could point to them and show them what they meant. And I'd get to points where I'd be like, okay, so this card kind of means a contract. I mean, legal something, but I have no clue what's going on in your life, but has to do with this and things. And I was so nervous. And then at the end of it, 30 minutes later, she told me that I had everything right. It was spot on. And it made me so happy
Aw.
because I had worked so hard and was just it was just, I was so nervous about it because it's some parts of it I didn't know anything about this person, so I'm just kind of throwing out random things this could probably have nothing to do or not make sense at all, but I'm just going to go with my intuition and say it. And yeah, that was really exciting for me. So
Yay, look at you.
I know she told me that I should stop what I'm doing and I should become a professional, and I was like, no, but thank you. I enjoy it too
you
much.
could do some YouTubes.
I could. I just
Could.
have fun. And that's the thing. I have so much fun doing it. I don't ever want to charge anybody for it. And I don't think that's, I mean, I would love to be the next Miss Cleo. I would, my God.
Call Miss Cleo.
Yes. Eat it up. Come on, kids. Call Miss Eric. She here to serve the children with your fortunes.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's cute.
It would be cute. Miss Cleo, Miss
Mhm.
Eric. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that
Miss
was
Barry, if you're nasty.
Oh my God, girl. I am taking that one. Yes. Miss Barry, if you nasty.
Yep.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
God. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bye, Felipe. Yeah, by the way, that was a new thing that I thought was hilarious. So Felipe could be for the guy. Yeah, and I heard it this week and it made me crack up. So bye, Felicia. Bye, Felipe.
Bye, Felipe.
Which, by the way, was my French name in French class.
Weird.
I know. Felipe.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Well, anyways, anything else going on in your life? Anything
I'm
exciting?
sitting here looking at you in these glasses,
Yes.
and I feel like you need a mustache with those glasses.
Oh, girl, I'm never gonna get one, but thanks.
They look like a trendy mustache
Ooh,
would
I
look good with those glasses.
probably on another face, but yes, I am not good with facial hair. I can't stand it. Can't handle it.
I mean, I don't like it either.
I can't stand. I mean,
I don't like it on men. It's not like a.
I'm okay with it on everybody else. Like my husband, he's fine. He's got facial hair. I can't stand to have it. I have to it drives me nuts. It itches and drives me crazy. So
Yeah, I could.
So
Yes. I
I
don't know if anybody could hear that, so I'm just agreeing with you.
I don't think they could. Our producer did just say something. So we are gonna get him to start being able to chip in so you can hear what he says. 'Cause
He said that Eric would look like an 80s star of very specific movies. Adult films.
there we go.
Yes.
Chris, we need to just pop you on in. We can't translate for you anymore. We need Oh my God. Okay. So And what's funny is this is funny for us, but we're confusing our poor listeners because they can't hear anything that's going on.
Chris.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
Chris is being dirty.
well, I do love
It's
these
not
glasses.
that kind of show.
It is not. No. So, but these glasses are fun.
They're cute.
And I love them. They are, and I've got another pair that, I showed them off last week.
Yes.
But these are the ones I wore this week, and these are fun, and I love them. The other ones you can see because these are like actually like on the video you can barely even tell that I really have glasses on. I think compared to the other ones because the frames,
Those are darker.
Yeah.
Darker and thicker.
They are, but I will say I love Versace, and they both are Versace, and I love Versace, love. Like
She's a name queen.
for Versace, yes, I will not. Chris is happy that I don't make him buy me clothes. It's crazy expensive, but when it comes to eyewear, it's where I put my foot down. So, hey. Hi. At least every 6 years. I mean, gosh, I haven't had glasses, and that was the last time I got new glasses was 6 years ago, they told me. And I was like, okay, well, time is needed. So, okay, well, we should probably get moving on. We've got, as usual, we've got some 4 saints to cover.
Yes.
And we are getting...
We have a very important one first.
Yeah, and we are getting so close to the end of this book, which is
Yes.
so crazy.
Yes.
But exciting. So, you start us off, girl. Who we got?
We have Sankt Feliks among the Boughs.
Oh, have I heard that
Ooh.
name before? I think so.
Have you?
Yeah.
Felix, what?
I better get your book.
So here's his story.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago in Ravka under King Yaramir, there was a winter that lasted like way longer than it was supposed to, kind of like it does here sometimes. But in this Tula Valley, which I looked up, it is between Kribirsk and Novokrbirsk. So the orchard in the Tula Valley is blooming despite it being winter everywhere else.
It's pretty much the fold.
Kinda, but opposite. The orchard was taken care of by Feliks, who was a warrior monk. Remember that the warrior monks took shapes of animals, and Feliks was supposedly one of those in the beginning, and he, from the stories, took the shape of a hawk.
Cool. I love that.
So some of the people near the valley would talk about seeing a red sun, a wall of burning thorns, and a black horse that had a mane of fire, and the hooves sparked blue flame when they hit the ground.
Ooh, hooves.
So there's a lot going on. Every morning the people would argue about which crazy thing they saw, like which was the craziest thing that you saw last night. Oh yeah, well I got a beat. I saw a horse with blue flames.
Ooh.
But as they're arguing, like they can see there's new sprouts and flowers emerging. The problem, though, is that everyone outside of the valley is suffering because they're cold and their gardens aren't growing, so they're hungry. In true Lives of Saints fashion, these people brought torches to accuse Feliks of witchcraft. Because that's like a main theme.
As it happens in...
Yes, as you know.
As you know, demons.
The people of the valley who were all fed and strong, they didn't stand up for him, though. They hid in their houses. Even when they set Feliks to the pyre.
Nice.
They demanded that he confess, but he claims it was only nature, which, side note to... is true in the Grisha world. It is nature.
Right.
It's not Merzost. It's not magic. So he's telling the truth. He's telling them it's nature. So he says, or the book says, he refused to confess any crime and only asked to be turned on the spit so as to cook more evenly. His bones were scattered over the ground, and without his care, the orchards something and faltered. I did not write this properly. Ever after, the only tree that would grow in the soil was the thorn wood.
Boom.
Its branches thick with fruit that never ripened. So he is the patron saint of horticulture, and he is celebrated in the spring with feasts of quince and apple. I have 800,000 things to say about Feliks, But first on the list
Well, yeah.
is looking at the illustration.
Let's take a look at that lovely photo.
Yes. It's a very pretty photo.
It's a gorgeous illustration.
Yes.
It's actually one of my favorites in this whole book.
It's very artsy. It's got like it has a nice frame around it.
Yes, it does. I like it looks like a book cover in a way, you know, it's because it's an oval and then it's got the like apples on the outsides of that. I love some of the details, like that horse with the flaming wig on. Well, and the blue sparks coming. Did it mention that it had hair that was red? Okay. Yeah.
The flaming mane, yes.
The flaming mane. Nah, the flaming wig. Girl.
But like Feliks himself is like outlined in gold.
Yes.
Kind of cool.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
And I just love this picture. It's absolutely gorgeous. And for those of you listening, I'm sure you all have seen this picture. And if you haven't, go check it out because it really is stunning work that Dan did for this. Like this is
that's one that you could see actually like up on a wall or something.
Yeah. I really it's beautiful. And also the fact that like I know you're about to mention Sankt Feliks is a huge part of the Grishaverse.
Yes.
As we will get to now. So go ahead and talk about it.
I have lots of things.
Okay.
But did we say moral of the story?
Yeah, so
I don't really know the moral of the story. I don't know if there really and truly is one. Because he didn't do anything wrong. He just minded his own business. I don't know. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah, maybe if you're living in the Grishaverse during these times, you're safer to just pretend like you're a normal, mean, angry person.
Yeah.
So don't be nice to anybody. But don't be a hermit either, because then they'll look at you and then come knocking on your door. So just casually be rude, like everybody else is.
Stick up for people, because the Valley people didn't stick up for him, and so now they don't have a lush orchard.
You know, that actually is a really good moral, because, there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
See something, say something.
Exactly. Just because you agree, like, if you see something wrong going on in this world and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't agree with that. But then when it comes, like, then do something. Like, there's a lot of people, that for, like, that will stand for Black Lives Matters, but yet, do they go out to any of the like protests or go to any of those situations? And like actually, like, there's a difference between saying, yes, I support this, and then actually going out and supporting it. And I'm just saying, if you have something like that, if you feel strongly about something and then we need to stand up for it. Just sending a check and just saying you support it doesn't make change.
You went really deep on that one.
I did, but I saw it all of a sudden, and I realized that's a really good moral out of this one. So, come on. We don't really, Okay, so, thanks.
All right, so, Grisha order. I have two.
Okay.
Which, we've said before a lot, at least, especially the earlier Grisha, it could be a mix.
Yeah.
I say Inferni because we're seeing sun, heat, the blue flame horse, and then Materialachi because of the plant manipulation. So I'm saying a mix of the two.
I agree. I also think he possibly could just be a monk in itself too. But we're guessing here with everything. So
but he made these things happen, so he has to be a Grisha. So as far as things that are in the book, it's mentioned, like just a quick mention in Ruin and Rising, a quick mention in King of Scars. But in Rule of Wolves, it is confirmed that Feliks was the leader of the priest guard and was the first to perform the Obispaya.
Yep. Which is huge.
It is huge. And then I also made a note that Sankt Feliks' martyrdom is very closely related to Saint Lawrence and the Catholic Church. They were both roasted alive, and they both used that turn me over so I can cook evenly.
Right.
So it's very similar to that story.
I was gonna say, I thought I knew that. Like, I felt like I'd heard the story somewhere, but I didn't want to say where because I didn't know where. Okay,
Saint Lawrence.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the fact that this is such a well-known part of our world that we're studying the Grishaverse, and like, yet still in this little story, we got some snippets of stuff that a different side of it.
Mhm.
I love that, and I love the Thornwood. Like, I mean, just because of the fact of like. The Thornwood is such a huge it like to me it is like the Grishaverse. Like that is what makes the whole world of the Grishaverse. And I love finding out more about it and just it's so cool to me.
Yeah.
So, just letting you know. So well, cool. Good saint. Check.
All right. So next we have Sankt Lukin the Logical.
Ooh. Okay.
So there was a prince who really wanted to be king. He had a counselor named Lukin who gave great advice, though many said he talked too much. The quote is, "While it was true, Lukin's speeches were so long that young men grew beards and wheat came to harvest in the time it took him to reach his point, that point was most often sound."
I'm sure my husband is thinking, that sounds like Eric.
So that cracked me up because apparently he tells very long stories or gives very long explanations. But basically, he saw the future. He made many predictions that came true. And he was also sent to negotiate with any enemy because he would bore them to death.
Well, that is a superpower.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Lukin did predict that this prince would become king, and it came true. This prince got married 3 times. The first 2 ran away to avoid hearing Lukin talk. And the third died from eating a bad oyster, though everyone thought that was not an accident. He had a son with each woman, so he has 3 sons. As the king got older, he worried about his sons taking over because they were all idiots. He asked Lukin for advice yet again, and he confirmed his thoughts that his sons were not fit to rule, but the second son was the best of the worst.
Okay. Well,
So the king declared on his deathbed that the second son would rule under the condition that he would keep Lukin as counsel. And the son kept his word when he became king. When that son took over, though, his first act was to call for Lukin's execution. It was his way out of the promise.
Yeah.
He said, "I promise to keep Lukin as my advisor until the end of his days. That end will simply come sooner than predicted."
Oh, well, how nice.
After his head was cut off, though, he was still able to speak. So the new king had to keep this non-stop talking head because of his promise. Quote, "Lukin's head was placed upon a golden platter, and from it he dispensed advice to the new king for the entirety of his rule, which was long, just, and miserable." End quote.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So,
No, okay. Please continue.
Did it say what he's the saint of?
Let's see.
I don't have it in my thing.
It's okay. Yes, he's the patron saint of politicians.
Okay, yes, I remember reading that. Which kind of makes sense. There are a bunch of talking heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on. Let's look at the illustration, please.
Oh.
This one's actually kind of cool too.
Mm-hmm.
I like they've got the saintly glow behind Lukin's talking head.
Yeah.
And the king is on his throne, just like, please kill me now.
Yeah. It's a really cool picture. Something that points out, does the king's robe look like a kefta to you for some reason? Like, I mean, I know it's not like from the show, but like through the keftas that we've seen in this like picture, like through the book, I feel like it just reminds me a little bit of a kefta. I know he's not, but I mean, it just reminds me a little bit. The embroidery that's maybe on the
it might
sides.
just be because of the like location.
Yeah.
Like the traditional wear.
It's a very symmetrical picture, though. I really like that. I like it.
Except for the king slumped over. Like he is clearly having a miserable time.
And that head is talking. It is preaching. It has got something to say. Lukin is not going to stop.
Nope, he is not.
Well, that's cool. I love the picture. So it's funny, too.
So the moral of the story is maybe don't talk so much.
Or keep your father's promises.
Or keep your father's promises, because he probably could have...
helped you.
Yeah. I mean, yes, he could have helped him, but he probably is talking more now because he's like, you killed me, so I am really going to annoy the crap out of you right now.
Exactly. Like, this ain't going to stop anytime soon now. So, yeah, keep your promises. They're very important.
Yeah.
Important.
Grisha order. So I have down that there's really nothing in here about him being like in a Grisha order. What is suspicious, though, is because his head is still talking.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Merzost is to play in here. Who performed the Merzost, I don't know. So there might either he is a Grisha and he was able to perform Merzost on himself, or some other Grisha did. But that would be my guess, because it's magical that he's still talking.
Without a body. Yeah, I agree.
And there's absolutely no mention in the books of him.
No, I was going to say, I don't think there is.
Mm-mm.
But, hey, he's the patron saint of politicians, which makes sense to me.
It does.
So, I love that.
It really does.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Okay, well, then I have Sankt Magda. And I love this story, by the way. So for those of you listeners, I'm going to say real quickly, that have read everything in the Grishaverse, this is actually, I should probably mention it later, but I'm going to mention it now. It's actually you've heard this name from the short story, The Witch of Duva, which is in the language of thorns. So anyways, Magda is just, she's in Ravka. She minds her own business. She's this nice lady. She dabbles in herbs and little potions and things, and helps the villager people whenever their wives need help with stuff. And it's also Ravka's during its bitter years, which seem to be forever. I don't know when Ravka's not in its bitter years.
Yes.
Crops are failing, cattle dying.
Literally every story we hear.
Yeah, everybody's dying.
Yeah.
So, but Magda has this nice little piece of land too. Apparently that the village people, she knows, is like kind of getting a little restless. And one of the women that I guess is like she's having problems with having birth or something. She decides to point her finger at Magda, which doesn't surprise Magda. Magda was like, okay, I know I have this really nice piece of land. These peeps are going to come for me. So, before she even gives them a chance to come there with their stakes and everything, she gets her stuff and she just bails. She's out. She goes and makes it in the woods, and she's already has like herbs and everything growing, and she was prepared for this. So she just vanishes. Well, the people in the village still are like, okay, well, all the cattle and everything is still dying, because they thought that all this could be because of Magda, of course. You know, a witch is in our presence, so that's why everything's going bad. Well, everything still was going bad. So they're like, well, maybe Magda wasn't the only one. So there's this interesting quote I'm going to read real quickly. The town grew restless, the people wild-eyed. As another terrible winter set in, people began to wonder. Perhaps Magda had not been the only witch in their midst. Two sisters were accused of making dark bargains with creatures from the other side. The cold woman who lives at the bottom of the river, the shadow man who is found behind doors, end quote. So, sounds a little suspicious. We'll get to that in a minute, just because I see some connections possibly. So anyway, these two sisters are obviously, like, they're being persecuted. Well, they think that their family's going to help them, which is really sad that you can't depend on family at this time. Because what happens when the people with the pitchforks are coming after them? The father and the brothers steal their shoes and everything they could use to try to escape. So they just are like sitting in their room in their nightgowns. They can't go outside because it's winter, so they can't leave. So that's nice. all that family love and everything. Well, they've got nothing else to do. They just pray to the saints for help. And then what happens? Sankt Magda appears and she says, "Hey, come with me." Yeah. And the oldest sister, I believe, is just like, "No, no, 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 no. Mm-mm. You have been like, you deal in like bad magic. You work with demons. I'm not going with you. If I went out with you, we would die. It's winter out there. We have no shoes, whatever." Well, the sisters, like, the younger sister kind of sees this as possibly maybe actual help from the saints. They were praying to the saints for help. So here is an answer. And so the younger sister's like, well, I think this is a message from the saints. So she goes with her. And she goes with her into the woods. And yes, it's freezing. She's frigid and she's starting to bleed. Her toes and like feet are getting all scratched up from the wood. And Magda says, like, "Honey, you're so cold, and I know you're barefoot. Like, do you wish to turn around? Do you really think, like, are you okay with this?" And the girl says, quote, "I will die in the woods, a free woman in the company of the trees, better than the pyre," end quote.
Mm.
At that moment, all of a sudden, she feels her little butt lifted up off the ground. She's flying before 3 winks. She is in a little hut with fur all around her and a big old pot of soup. Yum. So, apparently that was a good choice. Yeah, this younger sister, smart there. So, and she's where she is, she notices she's with all these women in this little, like, hidden place that has all these different herbs that are growing that definitely shouldn't be growing at that time of year, but it's like this safe haven. So, back to the bitter sister. She gets caught, of course, and she just kind of says, like, I didn't do anything wrong, as she dies and burns on the stake. However, the brothers and father of the 2 sisters really want to go find the other sister. Like, where did she go off to? She went with Magda, so we're going to go find her. Well, they go off and they smell like roasting meat and all these different things, and it drives them literally insane. They keep searching until they're just gone. So, they didn't find her. Missing. So, just to let you know, the village continued to starve no matter how many girls they put to death, but the girls who prayed to Magda would often find themselves swept up and carried into the heart of the forest, and so she is known as the patron saint of abandoned women as well as bakers. End quote. I love it. So, let's go right where we're supposed to. Let's look at this beautiful illustration. Okay, so I think it's pretty.
It looks like a fairy tale.
I know, and I love how at the bottom the trail has illuminated. Like, you see the little toadstools and stuff. It looks like it's so fairy tale-ish to me. You're right.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love how pretty Magda looks. She's gorgeous.
It looks like. Have you ever been to Rock City?
No, but I've passed by the sign.
In Rock City, there's this whole like fairy tale land, and
what?
Yes, I mean it's very like childish, but everything is illuminated like black light, and so this to me looks like it belongs like right in there. Like, it looks like it would be like a black light painting on a wall.
That's awesome. I totally agree. It does look like it would be a black light picture, especially because it's got those hidden, like, highlighted parts. And I now have to go and see what you're talking about, this Rock City fairy tale thing, because I love fairy. You know me, so
Yes.
but it's a gorgeous picture. If you've not seen it, definitely check it out. It's gorgeous. So moving on, let's see. What do we think the moral of this story is?
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. If you pray for something and then an answer comes, that's most likely your answer, not the don't wait for a better answer.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna come around. Don't be surprised when you pray to something and you get an answer. Take it. Older sisters are the worst. So are your brothers and your father. Don't depend on them. These are particular situations because this is making me sound like just hate your family. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no.
Just in this time, these obviously these poor girls couldn't do anything. Another moral, women thrive no matter whether they have men or not. Snap.
That's like one of your favorite themes.
It is woman power. Yes, ma'am. And I love that they have their own like hidden place that's in the woods that drives men crazy and they can't find. Like that is so.
Well, that's a very typical like fairy tale like theme is, there's sisters and one is like wiser than the other one and there's a hut in the woods.
The woods.
That's a that's a fairly like common fairy tale-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually, this is probably you saying that because is probably why it reminds us so much of a fairy tale because the Language of Thorns is the book of the fairy tales for the Grishaverse. So that's probably why that's in there. And it's a different story. It's just the same. So that's the connections I want to make. So it's the Witch of Duva is the same. Magda is the same one. And then I thought that, that quote that I said about the cold woman who lives at the bottom of the river and then the shadow man who happens to be found behind doors. I'm sorry, but there's got to be some kind of connection to the Darkling there with the shadow man. I just think there's a connection a little bit, a little something. Who knows? However, I can't talk too much about the woman who lives at the bottom of the river because we haven't gotten there yet. That's in part of the Language of Thorn stuff. But for those of you that might know what I'm talking about, I'll try to remember. Most likely I won't. But if you've read that, maybe there's a connection there to someone you've read about. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to talk in code because of you. But I do love this story. Okay, so
do you have any connections?
Well, first off, order. Grisha order, I think.
Yes,
healer.
Order. Yes, healer.
She's a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think so she's a healer for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Magda is associated with like gardening abilities, right? So maybe fabricator as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, she is good with that because she can yeah. And she's with that big group of women, which is really neat too. So I wonder how many different types of Grisha there are there. But yeah, so maybe a combination of a couple. She reminds me for some reason so much of Baghra. I know she's not, but she just does.
You have called Baghra Magda.
Have I?
Yes, many, many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's only because they just seem so familiar to me. Like, so they seem like the same person, but they're absolutely not.
No.
However, So, well, I'm glad you pointed that out.
So I actually have here in Rule of Wolves, it's not a mention, but it's that Zoya says that like saints can see far beyond what's possible, that they have connections, people praying to them, and that they're deeply connected to the making of the heart of the world. So that's why it would be possible for like Magda to appear in a vision.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Look at you. Well, I think that was a fabulous story. So, do you have anything else?
I'm good. I said my piece.
You said, okay. Well, now we're going to move on to a really cool story, which has a huge Easter egg at the end of this. So, this is Sankt Egmond, which is really cool. So, there's this boy that just happens to be good at drawing and building. And when his church, in the village he lived in started to slump to one side, he was able to help put it back together. He just was helpful. And a massive ash tree actually happened to like grow beside it. And ever since then, he was favored by the saints or said to be favored by the saints. And those who worship Gel like to claim the ash tree and Egmond as their own. So, That's how the story starts. Now, Egmond, as we said, he really is good at like art and drawing and building, and he makes some amazing things. And there's these different people like them that commission him to build like homes and stuff like that. However, whenever he does, he makes what they ask, but goes a little above and beyond. So, for instance, here's a quote. Someone would order the construction of a winter palace to be 3 stories high, at least 12 feet taller than their neighbors, and with twice as many rooms. Egmond would deliver a house of 100 rooms, built to look like the thick tentacle arms of a kraken crushing a ship. End quote. So he just makes really cool stuff. He also could forge metals that never rusted. He could fashion nails that never bent and carve stone into fantastical shapes that were so detailed that you almost thought the beast was right there to get you. Yeah. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Edward Scissorhands, when he's like, I know, I had that in my head. So, so he keeps creating these really cool things. And of course, as designers always do, they run into that one frustrated client that's just like, I commissioned you to do this and you did this, which is not exactly what I asked for. Even though it might be better, I don't like it. So as our world goes on with things like this, someone like they considered him a fraud. So he just got thrown into the dungeons of the royal palace, high on the cliffs of Gerholm, in our lovely Fairyland. Well, so the castle also happens to like be pretty cold, and they started to have these ruthless storms come through, and the princes and princesses and kings and queens huddled together by the fires. Like it was just all the wind was coming through, and they're freezing. Water started coming in, and they didn't know what to do. The royal family got some engineers and architects to like try to like help. And what their answer was, this place is cursed. I'm sorry, but we ain't going to be able to fix this. You're going to have to leave. Sorry. I know you like this. You're going to need to relocate your capital. So, as we have heard, the precious, wonderful Night of Ringcalla, when it was, I'll read this as a quote. It's better to do that. The quote is, the Night of Ringcalla, when its room should have been full of people drinking and dancing, the castle was nearly empty. All the courtiers who could flee had done so, seeking sanctuary in the town below. All the guests who had been invited had regretfully declined. The wind came wailing off the sea like an infant torn from its mother's breast, and the castle walls swayed to and fro. Can no one save us? Cried the king. Will no one help us? Wept the queen. Down in the dungeon, Egmond placed one hand in a puddle of rainwater and one hand upon the castle wall, where the tiniest tendril of root had begun to find its way through the gaps in the stone. A great rumbling was heard, and for a moment it seemed the whole building would fly apart. Then a final thunderous roar echoed through the night, and a massive ash tree shot from the ground up through the very center of the castle. Silence fell. True silence. The wind had stilled. Rain no longer dripped from the roof. I'm going to end there as my quote. So, this is a big thing because all of a sudden they're like, whoa. So the king's like, okay, bring up that prisoner who did this. Like, is that, yeah. And he gets him in front of him and he's like, are you the boy who did this, like, help save our castle? And he's like, yeah, I am. And he's like, if you let me, I'd be glad to build you a fabulous palace. I'm good at this. And the king says, you know what? I will. If you do, you will be rewarded. However, you who fail, you'll die. We'll kill you. Now I'm going to end this very last quote and end the story. The palace Egmond built was unlike any seen before. A stone serpent guarded its high towers, its bridge of glass and moat of floating frost, its silver clock tower, and the sacred ash at its heart. Ever since, the ice court has stood, its walls unbreached by any army. Sankt Egmond is the patron saint of architects. Boom.
Boom.
Yes. Mic drop. Hello. Huge. That is the ice court story.
Yes.
Isn't it neat?
It is.
Okay, so as we get into this, let's definitely take a look at that illustration. Okay, so this illustration is amazing, but I'm going to tell you, when I first saw it, and like I didn't realize what it was when I read the story until afterwards.
Mhm.
Like, but if you were really, I don't know, I feel like if I really looked at it, you could definitely tell it is kind of the ice court story because it's got the serpent
Uh-huh.
and all that stuff. It's just so cool.
And the moat.
And the moat, exactly.
And the ice bridge.
I love it. It is so amazing. So I just think this is really cool, and it's a beautiful picture. And also, what a really great, just something to feed your mind, give you an illustration of what I know. We got the map of that in Six of Crows, but this is just really cool to see what it looked like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Love it. So he is moral of story.
I don't know.
Okay, so, he's a true artist. So, if there's an artist, let them thrive.
Do your thing.
Exactly. There's always a limit of, if you tell an artist to draw or paint something for you, you can't, come back and be like, hey, you didn't do it the way I wanted it. They're an artist. They're doing their thing. It's very hard to, if you have a specific thing in mind, be very specific. And then you hire someone that's not an artist, but he truly was an artist, and I understand where he comes from, so don't give him any slack. Anyways, morals of the story. Moral of the story is we figured out where the ice court came from. That's the moral of the story.
There you go.
Yeah, ice court.
Gods or saints.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Okay, so Grisha order, obviously a materialkai.
Fabricator.
Yep. Durist.
Yes. Also materialkai, because again we have the plant manipulation.
Yes, which I think is neat because that part, it's almost like gel. I feel like working with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the story of Saint Dimion, he was also a fabricator, and he designed the aqueduct. But in this one with Egmond, he's got his own ideas.
Yeah.
So he was a much more creative fabricator.
Yeah, as we said, he is an artiste.
He's an artiste.
He sure is, bringing art to the Grisha verse. So, Easter eggs, you found out the story of the ice court, which is massive. I remember when I first read this, and it was probably 3:30 in the morning, and my husband was asleep next to me. I did scream out loud when I read that line because that was just such a really cool Easter egg. I love those Easter eggs that are huge. That's a massive one.
Yeah, in Rule of Wolves, it is confirmed that Gel's ash tree is actually a rendition of the sacred thorn wood trees. So they do mention that in Rule of Wolves.
Wow.
They don't say the name per se.
Right.
I think they did say Egmond.
Yeah. They probably do. I think you're right.
Yeah. But yeah. So Egmond is kind of like Fjorda's Lizaveta. Like Lizaveta is like Ravkan, and then Egmond is like Fjordan.
And if you remember, I think I can't remember exactly whether it's it's in Six of Crows. It's when one of the crows actually gets into the ice court and they realize how fabulous it is. One of their thoughts is this has to have been created by a Grisha.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that specifically. I can't remember who it was, but just that thought. And I always thought that was kind of neat. I always thought that would be told throughout that story. But here we are. It's told right here. For sure.
And there's a fun little thing here in the Grishaverse Reddit thread that this could point to Gel being a version of the same god behind the making at the heart of the world. The first maker mentioned by Grigori, who is probably the god of the religion of Ravka.
Absolutely.
So they're saying especially based on the story and everything we've heard, that like Jill could actually be like the maker of the heart of the world. He could be like the god.
They said, like, I remember.
Weirdest version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we were ending Rule of Wolves, they specifically were kind of talking about that and how it was like, this is all one. Like, the making of the heart of the world and all these gods, yes, are all, like, it's all the same thing. We just have different names for it. And I love how much that actually goes with my beliefs and just like this real world, just because I think a lot of people pray towards different things, and I think there's just a lot of fun different names for the same thing.
And the ash tree, the thornwood has a lot to do with it, because Lizaveta has the thornwood on her story, and then this like gel Egmond thing has thornwood. And we just finished another Thornwood story with Feliks, so the Thornwood has a lot to do with the making of the world as well.
Yeah, that's why I love the Thornwood so much, because it like literally is like it is the center of all of everything, and that gets really pointed out in Rule of Wolves. But I just love how much that is just this huge point that we get to see. Like, the Thornwood is everything. So it is so cool, which, by the way, I think we should start making, I would love to make a Thornwood like bracelet or something like that. That would be so cool, marketing. Anyways, so, that finishes it up for this week. I think we had some great saints. We got some cool stuff coming for you. So, anyways, it's now that very special time for GrishaCast news! Yeah, we're just pretending. So, our lovely Grisha in the field, Alex, will not be able to make it, but it is okay. Alex let me know what was going on up in that field. So, first off, some big news. Lee and Holly Black will actually have a real live in-person event coming up, and it's for the promotion of Holly Black's new book, and it is May 12th at Skylight Books Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles. And yeah, that's a Thursday, and it's at 7 p.m. So if you're in that area, I would go check it out, because this is the first time Lee has been able to physically be somewhere that we can actually go to in a long time. So really cool. And also, I love Holly Black. So gotta do that. Next, so let's keep this cool. Let's not make a big deal about it, because we don't want to get anybody in trouble. But earlier this week, there was a photo that was leaked on social media, and it was a photo of our actor who plays Sturmond, Nikolai, with a fellow actor. And as quickly as it went up on social media is as quickly as it went down. However, we know this was definitely a breach of contract. We don't want to get anybody in trouble, but it was something that happened. It was cool if you saw it. If you didn't, don't go digging. It was neat to see. However, it didn't give away a lot of anything. It was pretty much just a face shot. So don't worry if you didn't see it. You didn't miss much. It was nice to see that they're filming and probably close to finishing, hopefully. But that is it. So that is our GrishaCast news for today.
Ta-da!
Yay! Okay. So we do have a listener thank you. I forgot.
Well, I'm going to say thank you to Glasses Danny for the lovely, wonderful review. It was a very nice read.
Is that the one I'm looking? That I'm trying
the
desperately
one that we just read.
Yes, thank you. That's what I'm desperately trying to look for. Yes, thank you, Glasses Danny.
Yes, thank you very much.
That was a phenomenal review. We
was.
love hearing that. It makes us so happy. Thank you so much. And that reminds us to tell you, please, if you are a listener, we would appreciate and love it so much if you went to your podcast platform and gave us a review. We love it, especially on Apple, because we can see them. You can always email us also if you have any questions or anything. We love to hear from our listeners so much. So thank you so much. Thank you, Glasses Danny.
Yes.
We love you. And yeah, I love your name, Glasses. I wonder if you're wearing glasses, if you like glasses. What type of glass we going with? Are we thinking about the glass that Terry makes? Or are we going in Cinderella glass slippers?
Huh.
I know. Glasses could be... I know. I went off on a tangent there.
Yeah.
How many ways
happens.
can Eric think about what glass has to do with... Anyways, okay.
Eric overthinking?
Really?
What?
No. I'm just...
Crazy.
I know, girl. I'm just Saint Lukin. I'm going to be that... just that head, that is going to be me.
Yeah, keep on talking.
Hey, you just wait for GrishaVersary next year.
Oh, boy.
Oh. I know, girl. I got it. Anyway, so next week we look forward to discussing 4 more saints with you. We are almost done with this book, y'all. Okay, so next week we will be covering Sankt Ilya, Sankt Ursula, Sankt Matthias, I don't know, whatever. Sankt Dimitri, and those are pages 91 through 108. Yeah, I don't know if it's Sankt Matthias. I don't think it's Matthias. It's Matthe.
Matthias.
The one in between Ursula and Dimitri.
Matthias.
Count 4 from the one we just finished, Egmond. Count 4 more. Yep. And if you really need to know specific pages, 91 and you end on 103. Yep. So, okay. Well, it has been a pleasure. We love you all. Long live the Grishaverse.
Like, we're at the end of the hour, so my voice is a little husky. A+.
No mourners.
No funerals.
This has been GrishaCast. Connect with us on the web at GrishaCast.com. Send an email to info@GrishaCast.com.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at GrishaCast.
Thank you so much to our staff, Chris, Alex, Sid, Michelle, and our fabulous graphic designer, Chloe.